Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Dave, how much are you down right now and today? 7 million. I'm down $7 million in stocks and crypto. And it's tariff city. Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand them. I don't. Like, it's more a trade deficit tariff to me. Like, hey, we get this much shit from you and you get this much from us. Let's even that up. Let's get some wacky formula and do tariffs. And everything's in the shitter because of it.
Look, I think it is a mistake to assume that we will have high tariffs in perpetuity. I don't think that would be good economic policy. I am not a fan of tariffs. If the result is our trading partners jack up their tariffs and we have high tariffs everywhere, I think that is a bad outcome for America. Tariffs are a tax on consumers, and I'm not a fan of jacking up taxes on American consumers.
What President Trump is initiating here, this is a long-held belief that he believes that tariffs will correct those problems. But what's also indisputable is the markets are down about 8% in just 2 days, and I'm getting all kinds of reaction from businesses, farmers in Wisconsin that are highly concerned about what's happening. So those are the facts. I don't know, all I can really do is kind of report the reality to the administration, let them know, how these actions are impacting my constituents.
Moody's comes out and they said that an escalation of the trade war could wipe out 5.5 million jobs and lift unemployment to 7%, and GDP could drop 1.7%. That's if people don't come off it, and Moody's is not for it. This new round of tariffs, how long is it going to last? Are they going to last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years?
Tariffs are a tax on people, too. You tax 20%, 10% on everything from China. That impacts anybody who buys that stuff.
Trust the plan. At least that's what I'm doing, because there's not really any other option other than freaking out on Twitter. But sure, the stock market, maybe don't look at it this week. Maybe don't look at it today. Everyone out there who are living off their 401ks and in retirement, I understand this kind of thing is hard to just kind of chill and wait.
BMW is going to rethink South Carolina because it's not going to import tariffed parts, engines from Germany, then to send those vehicles to export them. So again, it will mean, if that plant stays open, it will mean fewer jobs potentially, because they sell them they export them to China.
No, but I'm saying you can't make
they import the parts, which will be tariffed, and then they will export them from the United States, where they're manufactured, back to Europe, where they will be tariffed again, and then to China and nations around the globe, right? So these are the problems that a U.S. manufacturer faces, because the parts are coming from somewhere else.
They can also just make the parts here. They can make the car.
No, they can't. Absolutely not. That's a fallacy.
It's impossible.
Some of our closest allies, not just Canada and Mexico, but looking to the Asian, allies, putting tariffs on South Korea, on China, on Japan. Now we're seeing countries like Japan and South Korea move closer to China. So if we're going to see our allies move closer to what this administration calls our peer adversary, China, that should be concerning. And that's what we also need to look at what these costs of tariffs are going to do.
In the long run, we're all dead. Short run matters too. Nobody knows what the impact of these tariffs is going to be on the economy.
Anyone who says there may be a little bit of pain before we get things right need to talk about farmers who are one crop away from bankruptcy.
They get a lot of their beef from Canada and Mexico. If you get a 25% tariff on that, what's that do?
Oh, it's going to increase the price. It's going to, the consumer's going to pay for it. My philosophy is to sell it as low as you can to show a savings, a value to the customer, and hopefully you have more customers to generate your revenue.